Welcome back to another episode of the Corporate Cowboys podcast. My name is Alex, as always, your host. And I've got you for another 30 minutes. Actually, you've got me, right? For another free 30-minute consult related to professional development. If you are interested, if you are in a position or looking to put yourself in position to move up through corporate, maybe you want to enter, get yourself acquainted, infiltrate, sign the dotted line and get started on making corporate moves. You want to know what would a corporate cowboy do? You're in the right spot. And for the next 30 minutes, you will have free, unsolicited, mind you, so a disclaimer, none of what I say, none of what you will hear across this podcast should be construed as legal advice, right? We do not promote any wrongdoing, no wrongful activity. That being said, you can retain us for a personal case. You can find us online on Instagram. That's at Corporate Cowboys with a Z. On the Patreon also, that's the Corporate Cowboys podcast. Additionally, you'll find some donation links if you choose to throw some change our way. It could be $1 or $1 million, what have you. But this podcast will be free. Now, without further ado, questions coming from online also help me. This is a form of therapy. This is a form of self-reflection, if you will, professional reflection. And you are just listening in. So, the question comes from r/career advice. And this one is a pretty long one. The body on this is pretty thick. So I'll read you the title and it reads, "My boss is making me stay after my 4 weeks notice because my replacement ghosted." And for those of you that aren't aware, ghosted it's just when they're a no-show, a no-call, no-show. So apparently, this person gave notice, 4 weeks notice. Geez, that's generous. That's overly considerate. I've got to ask, if I had this hypothetical client in front of me, I would have to ask what field they're in, what company they're in, what considerations went into making that decision to give them 4 weeks notice, when typically I've seen professionals give a 2-week notice. If they got something else lined up and circumstances are favorable, they could give less than 2 weeks. In some situations, when you give your 2 weeks notice, your employer can choose to make it effective immediately. And that could be for any number of reasons. Maybe you've got some sort of special access or a special clearance to view confidential information or handle confidential materials, proprietary materials of the company. And they want to mitigate any risk that in that 2-week span that you give notice, you might do something that harms them. In regards to that proprietary information, to that company property, if you will. But we don't know that here. We do have some facts, though, and I will try to pull any reasonable inferences from them in order to better inform my reflections, my perspective on this individual's situation. I might voice relevant questions that you, the listener, might choose to write down, but these would absolutely be questions that I might be asking in an interview. So there might be questions that I could ask, or I could infer from having the hypothetical client in front of me. You can read into the situation. So, my boss is making me stay after my 4 weeks notice because my replacement ghosted. I work for a one-person law office. Oh, fuck me. That's tough, ain't it? That's tough. When you are essentially a key person, the key person that keeps the operations running smoothly. I'm not going to say you owe this managing partner. You don't owe them anything. You gave them your 4 weeks bounce, right? Regardless of whether they got ghosted or not. What are you banking on? Some type of referral, a professional referral, a recommendation? If you aren't, you don't need to stick around. Especially, mind you, this is a huge asterisk, especially if you already have something lined up, especially if you are committed to having started somewhere else. If not, at the end of your 4-week notice, the employment agreement is effectively terminated. If they choose to keep you on, that means that they are in need of you. And that's a new employment agreement. It's at will, mind you. They could choose to fire you the next day, just like you could choose to leave the next day. You could leave whenever. But if they want to keep you, that actually presents an opportunity to renegotiate what you were getting paid previously. I mean, it's obvious they need you. Granted, you want to evaluate this one-person law firm's financial situation if you can, right? Don't want to gouge an eye out. But you might just be compensated just what you're worth for keeping the firm operating and bridging the lack of personnel. I'm using big terms now, mind you. I'm using somewhat bigger terms, but I should probably make this easier to listen. Sorry, I'm practicing. I don't interact with myself. I don't reflect on myself often, which is why this serves as a form of cathartic therapy. Now, the hypothetical client continues. I work for a one-person law office. Okay. I have a great relationship with my boss. Okay. But this job has caused me too much stress. Are you not getting paid enough? I submitted my resignation to my boss May 1st. My last day should have been May 22nd. That's 4 weeks from May 1st. Overly generous, my opinion. Overly generous. So, they continue. I wrapped up as much as I could and got everything organized for the new hire, whose first day was May 22nd. That was my last day. Since my boss was very stressed out about my resignation, I said I would stay a couple extra days to train the new hire. See, you fucking up, man. Overly generous. You're not even working for them anymore, and still you agree to stay on a couple extra days to train the new hire. I hope you charge for those days. Doesn't matter how great a relationship you keep with this boss, with this manager. You should be getting paid commensurately. You should be getting paid appropriately. So, please note that this new hire has years more experience compared to me, as I started with 0 experience. The only things I could train him on were administrative related tasks, and not even the legal stuff, since I'm such a beginner. So, 2 days was enough time for the things I was training her on. I get that. I understand that. If the new hire has more legal experience, again, we don't know exactly how much how much work this hypothetical client was taking on in the form of administrative or office duties, right? If the lawyer also had them preparing or writing motions or briefs or operating in the realm or capacity as a paralegal or a law clerk, then we're talking that they're getting the experience, but they're still only what is it? How many years? It doesn't say how many years that they've been working for them. Okay, well, if this other person has more of that legal experience, then the only, I guess, transfer down is going to be the practical knowledge, not so much the technical, because legally and technical, this new hire would have years more experience and in applying their legal skills. But the practical and administrative duties within the office, as far as this lawyer's style for management and organization, that might take a little window of time to get accustomed to, for this new hire to get acclimated to. So it makes sense. It makes sense that someone should stay on and train them, or the lawyer should train them themselves, but you offer to stay on and claim that 2 days is enough. Okay, fine. But compensation is still an issue here. You're staying on past your termination date. So I'm hoping you're getting compensated somehow. They haven't told us this yet. So they say the only things I could train them on were administrative related tasks and not even the legal stuff, since I'm such a beginner. So 2 days was enough time for the things I was training her on. The first day of training on May 22nd went great. Okay, so they showed up. I thought they didn't show up to their first day of work even. So now this tells me that they showed up for the first day of training, maybe the second day of training, and then stopped showing up. You know what this new employee did? They exercised their option to terminate their employment agreement at will. Such is life. Everyone is entry level forever. Just like that lawyer could have fired them from one day to the next. Just like that lawyer could have fired you from one day to the next without notice. This new hire employee did the exact same. No hurt feelings. No hurt feelings unless by them leaving they intended to cause them some harm. And even then it would have to rise to the level of malice. Right? They took whatever computer systems you taught them on and totally inverted them, totally broke them down, disorganized them so that the lawyer's law practice would suffer. We're not hearing that yet. They say the first day of training, that was on May 22nd, it went great. My boss and I both agreed that I should do a second day of training, and then I'll finally be done. I really don't like these verbal agreements, these oral agreements. You should be putting this shit down in writing and getting paid for it. However, in the middle of our second day of training today, the new hire left for lunch and never came back. She will not answer her phone, texts, or emails. Yeah, she effectively ghosted your ass. She must have seen that either the lack of volume in work or the lack of organization, something about the firm rubbed them the wrong way. I've seen it before. Have I done that before? I think I have done that before, but not in an uber professional setting like a law firm. Nah, it was fast food when I was younger. Just from one day to the next. I'm like, I'm not coming back to this shit because management was inept, right? Because management was inept, because there wasn't support in place. And it's been said that employees won't quit a job, they quit a manager, right? The job could be shit, but if the manager makes the job worth clocking in to, the manager makes the job worth clocking in for and working out the shift, employees will stick around. I myself have an anecdote about just that. It's when I worked in California, actually. I worked in the Bay Area. I was managing a very popular Mexican grill. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about if you go and get their burritos or their burrito bowls. And I was moving up through the ranks. I was putting in massive work to move up through the ranks. So I was hungry. I was ambitious. But I came to work every day hungry and with a positive disposition. I was, I was younger. I had more energy. I was very resilient. I'd pull shifts from bell to bell because I wanted to see my store, my restaurant succeed. There were days where, because I originally came in at a very tumultuous time, a very shaky, very shady, a very shisty time. There was a lot of rumbling, a lot of shifting in the ranks taking place just immediately above us in corporate, within corporate. And a lot of that was shaking up what the rest of this corporation looked like, from corporate down. So when it came time for me to become a manager, I spearheaded that shit. I'd led by initiative. And my lived experience have helped me lead and develop my crew to become top performers. And then the best performers, develop them into managers. It's quite the operation. I really had to dive in and educate myself via any and all available manuals so that I not only would get promoted, but could negotiate what I would be paid. I wasn't just handed the extra dollar and the title and told, go off and get to work. That's what they had done in previous generations. Without any training, without any support, without any resources for helping them perform successfully, I went out and educated myself. I dove in. I didn't go out. I dove in and educated myself. And this corporate manager fuck had the motherfucking balls to tell me that they wanted to see because I stepped out or I stepped up and negotiated my wages, they believed they were doing me a favor. And so they told me, I want to see a return on my investment. Yeah, no, I dug myself into a hole. I painted myself into a corner because I was the only one who had done this. And so I lacked support. I lacked the resources because I was still a middle manager, not even within corporate. So corporate expected me to turn the tide of a store that was suffering. All the while, my colleagues and my supervisors weren't trained to the level that I was. So I took my time. Carried out my work to the foot of every letter, and shared this knowledge freely. I really cared for my people. I wanted them to get better. You'd be surprised, man. I hired and fired tons of people. I trained tons of people. I helped develop a number of people to get promoted. I trained people older than me. I trained people in their 50s. I trained young people, 18, 19, 20 years old. I mean, we were effectively the same age back then. I was also in my late teens, early 20s. And these kids had never worked a day in their life. They didn't know how to wipe down a table. They didn't know how to wash dishes. They didn't know how to sweep a floor or mop it, how to clean windows, just basic cleaning tasks. I had to train them on. It was insightful. It was really enlightening having to reconcile the fact that I was training people my age and I was already a manager. I was set to take the store over. Some of these kids were drug users and abusers. And me, I ran that shit with an iron fist. I did my best to wear velvet gloves on both hands. I had fun. I had fun putting in work and making the job fun, I hope. And later on, it was confirmed for me. This was years after I left the company, the corporation. One of these newbies, one of these young cats, they hit me up on social media. They searched me out on social media. We weren't even friends. I was I guess I always have been pretty professional and isolative in that sense where business is business, personal is personal. So unless I'm making friends, we're just associates. But they reached out to me and they told me that they remember their time with this company, specifically working with me, and that I taught them how to work, and that I taught them how to enjoy the work. And I began feeling emotional. Right, this was all through a virtual call. I began, feeling emotional, and that's when they revealed to me, and I low key already knew because they would show up to work and on some days perform very poorly, very, very poorly. And they told me that they were going through a benzo addiction, a benzodiazepine, fucking Xanax on the Xanny bars, right? They were going through a benzo addiction. Sometimes they would arrive to work barred the fuck out. Sometimes they were going through withdrawals and they didn't want to show up to work. Sometimes they had ideations of ending it all. And they said that they came into work and clocked in because they got to work with me. That shit feels good. It feels wholesome. It's like no other feeling. I mean, you truly don't know what someone else is going through. Yeah, you can bag on them, and I think even at some point, right? We take everything, everything for granted, everything as a joke, because we would bag on them. Like that was our form of hazing and training, of getting them inculcated into our crew. I mean, when we performed like a crew, it's about as close to family as you could get without sharing blood, but we're not going to come out and say, oh, when you work here, you're like, fuck all of that. Fuck all of that. When you form a crew, there's still a basis of trust. There's still a basis of respect. And that's what they showed up to work for. It's something else. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. So I could see that going down at this one person law firm. It doesn't mean that you can't renegotiate for the days that you're there. If somebody else left out, it's because maybe they saw the writing on the wall that they were in the wrong place, especially if they have more years of experience on you. They must have seen some red flags, some insurmountable task at hand that they just couldn't overcome. And so they dipped out. It also happens. Let me finish out this fact pattern because I deviated. So they say, now my boss. However, in the middle of our second day of training today, the new hire left for lunch and never came back. She will not answer her phone, texts, or emails. Now my boss wants me to stay longer while we look for a new replacement. I am distraught. This job has caused me such immense anxiety and stress. I was so relieved to finally be done today, and that relief I was feeling was completely crushed. I even burst into tears at my desk. Woo! Dip, man. If you got something lined up, dip. If you don't have it lined up, kick it back to your boss. Renegotiate your wages. If you're going to stay on, double it. Double it. Fuck it. What are they going to do? Say no? Double it. You get along really well with your boss. And you need the money. No. Fuck that. Maybe you need peace of mind. If your boss is willing to go into their pocket and give you that. I mean, shit, you could pull time after hours with less stress. Knowing that your time is being compensated. You might have to renegotiate with yourself to some extent. But if this isn't just an 8 to 5 where you're putting out fires, running from fire to fire, taking care of emergencies, what if you did treat this as a 8 to 8? Shit, I've done it. I mean, you effectively are an office manager or a case manager. Again, we don't know to what extent this hypothetical client is taking care of operations at the law firm. But you effectively are in a management position if you have no one else to report to except for the lawyer. You're not just a secretary. You're not just an assistant. You're an operations manager. I mean, to what degree we could qualify that, it's up in the air. Those are questions I would be asking the hypothetical clients if I had them in front of me. But breaking down into tears at your desk, I mean, it's understandable. It's understandable. We don't know how old our hypothetical client is, if they've ever been in this kind of stressful situation in the past. So I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying it's unreasonable. It's an unreasonable response when you have other options. So it's good that you can pose your situation, you can pose your dilemma online. I mean, if you want some perspective, I'm hoping that Reddit did its part. Hopefully some professionals came through. Hopefully some with a corporate cowboy mentality gave you some good commentary to run with. My comment is going to be, get your peace of mind in blood. I mean, in money, but blood just sounds more, it just sounds more graphic. Get yours in blood. Damn, I might have that posted on our Instagram. Be on the lookout for that. So they end off here, last two paragraphs. If I say no to my boss about staying longer, which I have tried to do before, she guilt trips me. Damn, I mean, is this practice, this whole situation involves just high strung emotion, I guess. I don't know if our hypothetical client is male or female, but it's a whole lot of manipulation just taking place. If I say no to my boss about staying longer, which I have tried to do before, she guilt trips me and says that now she has to retire and sell her law practice, all because I'm leaving. Fuck it. Leave. Take her out the game. For some reason, she hasn't built up her law practice, or maybe she'll go work for someone else. I mean, how old is she? Saying she's going to sell her practice and go retire? Maybe she should retire. Does she have enough to? You could help her explore these options, but again, I think you would need to be in a position of trust, a position of rapport, having built this type of rapport to even suggest that or inquire into that about why you are the key person that holds it all together, why they're having issues retaining you even, right? Why they're having issues retaining you if you are planning on leaving. Why was there an issue retaining your replacement before they left? You know, what type of pattern has emerged from past hirees, from past employees? I mean, those are all valid questions to be asking. But if all you're going on, if all you are basing your decision on is how you feel about your boss, oh, but I really like my boss. Oh, she's really cool. Oh, she makes me feel really bad. Fuck all that, man. That's all fucking bullshit. If she can't double your wages and thinks she has to retire, fuck it. You don't belong there. Again, we don't know what type of law they practice. These are questions that we would ask. I mean, we want, some depth, a lot of in-depth detail biographically about the client in order to make an informed opinion, something that they could possibly act on. But, I mean, we would have to disclaim. We always disclaim any advice with the fact that your mileage may vary, right? I'm giving a lot of analysis that I've read in. I have read into situations like this law firm. I personally have lived through situations like this law firm. And I've also consulted with other associates and colleagues and mentors and mentees about situations such as this one-person law firm. So, They're saying that they'll have to sell her law practice all because I'm leaving. I do not want to be the person. Oh, sorry. I do not want to be the reason she retires. Also, she really likes me and I do not want to burn this bridge. What do I do? How exactly will you burn this bridge? She's a one-person firm. Is she connected? not not connected like mobbed up, but is she connected and got that kind of clout where if you leave out, I mean, you gave her 4 weeks notice. That's professional enough. She, as a lawyer, should recognize that. That's professional as fuck. It's overly generous. If at the end of 4 weeks she can't find a replacement, you're dust your hands off, done. You're done. Your agreement is satisfied. Now, if she wants to keep you, if she wants to retain you, now, you see what I did there? Typically, people retain lawyers. But if this lawyer wants to retain you, I mean, now you can up your rate. Now you can up your fees. Double your money. Fuck it. If she doesn't want to retire, I guess you'll have to pay to play. Otherwise, what? Is she going to write you a poor letter of recommendation from her retirement? I know I'm laughing now, but these are definitely questions that I would want answered. Yeah, I get and I appreciate that she really likes you or she really likes your work, but you don't know if it's because she likes you and admires you and your ambitions and aspirations and not just because you keep her fucking law firm running. And then the moment you quit, right? If when you quit, after having given her professional notice, if when you quit, she doesn't like you, she never liked you as a person. She only liked you for the utility that you brought in keeping her law firm in operation, in smooth operation. And now that you're gone, she might be cursing you. All right, one final paragraph here. They add an edit, and then I'll let you go. They say, sorry, I just realized I mistakenly kept saying 4 weeks when it's really 3 weeks. I was frazzled when I typed this. The point is, we both agreed that after the second day of training, I would be done, and now she has changed her mind. Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares that she changed her mind and she doesn't want you to leave? You're gone. You're already 2 days over your notice. If she wants to keep you, she'll have to rehire you. And this rehiring process means that it comes with a bonus, with a kicker, with an opportunity to renegotiate your compensation. Why? Because she needs you. Why? Because she doesn't want to retire. Why? Because she likes you. That's why she'll have to pay you more. How about that? Flip it. Flip it on them. Oh, she likes you that much? Fuck it. Pay me. Oh, she likes me that much? Okay. Run it. Pay me. I'm going to let y'all go, man. Have a good night. A little proof of life. Tuesday, May 23, 2023. Take care.